Welcome, everyone. We're here today at the In-Building Wireless event in Las Vegas. I'm Rich Berliner, and I'm here today with Brett Chester from Sitetracker. Just before we start, a few housekeeping items that we always go through on these calls. If you have a question, please go to the GoToWebinar control panel and ask a question through that. We will do what we can to answer all questions. If not, we'll be happy to respond to you by email after the event. And we will publish a recording and a link to this recording and the video of this after the event is over. Probably will take us around 24 hours to get that up. And if you'd like any additional information today, after the event is over, you can go to Sitetracker.com. And again, welcome. Thank you, Brett, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to get into what Sitetracker does. And so some of the folks on the webinar may know, and we've talked about it a bit, but I spent 33 years in the construction end of the business. And so what we're talking about here today was always an issue for me. So very timely, very close to my heart with this. So what is it that Sitetracker does that would help me, like I needed back in the day when we used a module from our accounting software, or we use spreadsheets to do this? What does Sitetracker do that helps me keep track of my project?
Yeah, so let me start at the beginning. Thank you for the intro and thanks for hosting me. Sitetracker is a project, asset, and work management platform. So what we're designed to do is enable the deployment and maintenance of any sort of critical infrastructure asset. Specifically for our conversation today, telecom is our bread and butter. We started out with Verizon being our first customer. We actually had 6 or 7 users in Verizon back in 2013, and now we have all of their assets and all of their network being deployed through Sitetracker. So essentially, if you think about it, the challenges that we'd seen 20 years ago are now being multiplied many folds as we move into a world with small cell. But let's talk about the root challenge, the one that you would have faced back in the day. We need to deploy this asset to build this network, and you're requiring N number of people to be involved in that process, which requires the coordination of a project manager to run that. Traditionally, we've always run projects of this kind via spreadsheets. So somebody would create some logic in a spreadsheet and you'd end up with this massive beast that would take you months to reconcile. Like a USB stick wouldn't fit the information. You'd literally have to pick it up.
36 columns wide.
Exactly right, exactly right. And as we move into this day and age, that's just no longer going to be able to support your needs. Even if you were still 20 years ago, our software would still be solving for the exact same problem, which is the deployment of our infrastructure that we need today requires many hands. And with shrinking margins and with the skills shortage in market, you don't want somebody to have to sit and spend all of their day in a spreadsheet. You want them to actually do their job, which is to manage the project, manage the people, manage the assets.
So one of the most important functions, it seems to me, and the difference between the problems we had with the spreadsheet piece and what Sitetracker is doing, so that zoning hearing gets postponed because it's snowing.
Yep.
And now all the dates of those 36 or 50 or 100 columns wide have to change because that meeting is now a month and
Exactly right.
So is Sitetracker capable of making sure that changes and then everything else changes because the rule says it's 30 days from this, 15 more days for that. Definitely. Does that work that way?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think the way we like to think about things is that the variety, the volume, and the velocity of projects are changing. So what you've raised is a great example, particularly as we think about small cell deployments. Let's assume there's a weather incident and you need to stop everyone from doing something. Or the alternative, there's a weather incident and now you need to deploy 15,000 people to rebuild all the poles in Florida, let's say. All of that is so easy to control with cascading logic. So you can make a single drag drop that will trigger a whole workflow of events to occur that will seamlessly alert individuals, will allow you to promote inventory to move to certain places. So your workflows become seamless. With the templatized system that we attack the problem with, we have what I like to think about as a standardized approach. So you think about this deployment type in a fiber rollout, let's say. You can now look at your business and say, well, of all the fiber rollouts, I'm now standardizing on this one template. But with multi-jurisdictional concerns, in your example, let's say we're working across multi-jurisdictions, you can then say, okay, we now need to delay all of these projects across all of these locations, but we still need to think about this in this different area, and we can take that into account with that template.
So many things come to mind with this and problems we had back in the day. So not only did dates move, but the projects became so much more complicated. So each and every site was almost its own little project. It had this board, it had to have these antennas, they had to be connected this way, the hybrid cable had to be a certain length. So there was so many complications. And that's where we got really kind of bollocksed up with this, is that there was nothing to keep track of all of this.
Yeah.
So Sitetracker is helping me do that, but how is it expanding my world from the standpoint of, going to Verizon, which is a very complicated place? That's a really good get.
Yeah.
How did that work into it, and did they see that the complication that they were working on needed something like Sitetracker?
Yeah, for sure. Look, as I said, the variety of projects are changing. That's to start with. One of the things that I harp on about quite frequently is the lack of fiber that we have out there to be able to support small cell deployments. So if you think about the variety of projects just alone, we really need to start thinking about how do we tackle each step of the deployment. And each of those are different projects. And each of those occur at different locations. And then there are different people involved that have different skill sets to be able to do those things.
Right.
So if you think about efficiency for a second, because efficiency translates into dollars, when you have an individual that is not skilled to deploy fiber, going to deploy fiber, you're going to lose a day.
So you need to coordinate skill set with equipment, with project, and all those things.
Exactly right.
So it seems to me that one of the additional situations that I found was I was always looking for the Holy Grail. Mm-hmm. It didn't exist back then. Yeah. But as a good CEO, I think what I did was I called everyone in I could think of. We called in Oracle. We called in huge companies. We called in little companies. So are you coming in now with a team of people to do this? And is this, hundreds of millions of dollars and thousands of lives to get this installed in my company? Yeah. Or is this something that's not plug and play, but easy for me to install? That's critical.
Yeah, so what we're living in a day and age right now where software is starting to rule our lives. And unlike other people in the industry, we're not a traditional software company. We're a modern software company. So we're a software as a service. What that means for everybody is that we can deploy really quickly by virtue of being in the cloud. So the cloud isn't this nebulous concept. It just basically means that we're not an on-premise solution, right, which gives speed, which gives live access to data, which gives us the ability to give a mobile app to a person in the field to be able to actually take a picture when they want to do a closeout and know that they're actually at that location rather than sitting at the local bar filling out a spreadsheet saying, yeah, I'm done, or a checklist saying I'm done. So from a costing perspective, where that's reflective in our costs. We charge by users because that's the most effective way to allow your business to scale. If we were to start charging you in other business models that exist right now, you can't scale because every single part of your business would be contingent on that happening.
So in other words, in a traditional software model, you're charging me by the seat. if you will.
By the site is actually another way to think about it. So if you're a tower company, let's say, most people charge by the tower. So your business scales, this becomes an inherent cost at the tower versus per user now or by seat is a better model because it allows you to scale and find the multipliers of efficiency that you wouldn't otherwise find.
So let's go just make a right turn a little bit. So if I'm a tower company,
Yep.
now, and I have projects that people are coming to me, they want to perform those on my own site.
Yep.
But I want to keep track of all my assets. And I want to make sure that if so-and-so touched my site,
Yep.
that now I know what's there. Now I know who was there, and I can keep track of all. It just seems like a tool that the tower companies would be dying to have.
Yeah.
Have they looked at this and deployed this in tower companies too?
Definitely, yeah. We've got customers like Lendlease and others, Lendlease just off the top of my head, who use us just for that very process. So if you think about our hierarchy in our software, we like to think about sites and projects, assets and people. At a site, you can have multiple projects. Different projects have different assets. And let's start, I walk into a site, I walk out to a tower, I know what information I need to be able to access the property. Rather than having that scribbled on the back of a piece of paper, it's actually here in my mobile app. I know that I need to speak to Jimmy, who's the security guard at the property at this location. If you think about it, you're doing an install at a casino, let's say, or you're doing an install at a hotel or any shopping mall, you need to know who to speak with, right? Unless you have that information at your fingertips, there goes 20 minutes of wandering around aimlessly. Right. You're charging by the hour, you're paying by the hour, you're missing out on those efficiencies.
And back to my tower company situation, each one has you must get to the gate, you must call the knock, you must do this to get in, then you must report what you did.
Yep.
So all of that seems like data that could go into this giant database.
Yeah, exactly right. So if you look at our site record for a specific location, we have everything you could imagine, from a physical view of what the tower looks like, all the way through to the longitude and latitude, just in case you don't even have cell coverage there and you need to navigate by GPS. You have the record of who you need to speak with on site, all the security accesses and things like that. But also at the same time, it's permission based. So let's say, for instance, you don't want this person to have access to this information. You can limit the available information to them so that you can report on it, but they don't necessarily have the ability to change it, which also allows you to have an amazing audit history, because you can actually now say, well, hey, this person did this there, or that person did that there, and know that there was a proper workflow and a proper process in place.
Does it surprise you that 30 years or more down the road that the carriers and the tower companies and many of the other groups that are involved here have no idea what's actually on their sites, in their sites, even after we've done audits so many times and we've written it all down and gone back and climbed to get that. This seems like the perfect solution.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And literally just a few minutes ago on the show floor of in building Wireless Congress where we are, I was having this very conversation. We don't know where some of our assets are. We don't know what's deployed. A couple of weeks ago, I was at a show in Austin, which was a utility show. And similarly, the utility was saying, we've deployed all these antennas for a company in Australia, by the way, which was hilarious to me, so many degrees of separation. But they went and billed these people. And it wasn't until that billing event that the carrier in Australia actually realized, well, hey, I've got all this hardware out there that we didn't even know existed. And I see this problem time and time again, especially when you think about maintenance. Uptime is so important. We want to make sure that we've got all of our network running seamlessly. If you've got first-time fix rates, break fix rates, all of these concepts. Maintenance, like just scheduled maintenance. If you don't know where it is, how do you maintain it?
So I'll go back to part of my recent history in the construction end of the business before I started the media and say that we were all working for some Scandinavian firms in this business that happen to manufacture gear.
Yep.
And big projects came up, and each site had its own set of equipment. So if the zoning meeting got pushed, you couldn't just take that gear and move it to another location. So the opportunity for this to save me grief and aggravation by sending crews out that have no equipment to install or the wrong equipment seems like the most important aspect of this.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of Sitetracker. There are project management solutions out there. There are asset management solutions out there. There are work management solutions out there. But we're the only platform that sees all of this from an end-to-end perspective. So when you're rolling a truck, you have the right equipment on board because you know what's required at that site. Not only do you know what's required at that site, you can actually look at all the maintenance logs and seeing, hey, this was a seaside tower, or we're going to expect rust in this because we've looked at that. Therefore, take this extra equipment so we can get it right now, or take this extra tools or parts so we can get it right now.
So two really fundamental things that happened in my career that were so disruptive to the business that this is really critical. Joey, the project manager, terrific project manager, decides that he wants to go and be a signalman in the oil business and change his careers. And he leaves, and now he hands back his laptop, and now the rest of the team, whoever takes over, and the people in the administrative function, now have to go through and look at all the emails to find out if that piece of paper or email we were looking for to approve that change order or to do something. How is this now improving my life so that we don't have to go through and go through every email that Joey sent out?
Yeah, I'm laughing because that's something that we don't see anymore. There is churn in the telecom industry. People move from company to company looking for better benefits, and that's not dissimilar to any industry. But the beauty of Sitetracker is that our database allows you to record all of the activities going on at any one point in time and ensure that they are stored appropriately. So when you think about a project itself and completing that specific project at that specific location, you're seeing up to the minute what's actually occurred. And we're seeing 92 to 100% adoption rates on the platform because it's so easy to use, because it's so simple, one-click drag to alter 100 different projects at once.
But does Joey, the project manager, have to do that before he leaves, or is it automatic that when he's doing his daily work, that it's going into the right cubby hole?
Yeah, so there's a two-part answer to that. We still need Joey to do his job. And as long as Joey's doing his job, we're capturing that information. But there's also cascading logic and triggers that occur based on Joey doing his job. So if he picks up tomorrow morning and he finishes his day today, the world will keep operating because of the cascading logic and the flow-on effects of the work that he's done. So we're actually starting to see now that companies are advertising job recs with Sitetracker being a component, because they are saying, if you're not Sitetracker ready or have used Sitetracker, we're not actually interested in having you even apply for this position. So we're actually becoming that standard for the industry as a result of the successes that we're seeing for the Joeys out there.
But is it now becoming sort of a tenant or an employee amenity program, so that if I walk in, now I don't have to take over somebody's job and I have no idea what he did before me, but I can now decipher all that?
100%.
Oh, that's an interesting twist.
It's completely standardized. So every single PM at a company or every single engineer has access to the exact same paradigm in which they're operating. So the handoff and handshake between people becomes seamless. So that's where you're starting to see efficiencies. We're starting to see vendors out there that are supplying services actually ending in situations where they're changing their billing cycles from 90 to 120 days to 30 to 45 to the standard 60 if they're actually doing it on the 60-day cycles, because they're able to complete projects on time and bill immediately rather than waiting for Jenny to process this and James to process that, and internal processes and slowdowns delaying them and forcing them to carry those costs on behalf of the MNOs or whoever they're working with.
And every time you say data, and I think data,
data,
and we need a New Jersey,
exactly right,
dictionary.
Cash and cache and tomatoes, tomatoes.
But let's dig into that, because that is a critical item there, that billing piece.
Yeah.
So back in the day, we were constantly trying to figure out what was ready to build.
Yep.
We were working on, a methodology where we had, had to hit certain pay points before we could build.
Yep.
It's very complicated now, and each OEM, carrier, master vendor does it differently.
Yeah.
How does this solve that problem? Maybe am I able to take out a number of the bodies that are just chasing Joey and chasing this information and making it a one-touch sort of situation?
So I think there's a couple of answers to that. Firstly, I think the concept of removing bodies is a tricky one. So let me tackle that first. You can remove bodies, but what I'd prefer to see companies doing, and what we're seeing companies doing, is actually making their employees in those roles more efficient, by virtue of which those employees are happier and wanting to do more of their jobs, but they're also being able to, let's talk about accountants, let's talk about bookkeepers. They're able to work on their core focus rather than chasing a PM or chasing a field tech. They're able to actually do their job. So although you are finding efficiencies, instead of getting rid of John, who's the bookkeeper, actually apply him to the right work. So I think that's the first thing. The second kind of part to this is, yes, we integrate into a raft of different softwares that will make everything more efficient. So let's say, for instance, you're running on QuickBooks. We can integrate into QuickBooks and set up the triggers that allow you to move from this completion milestone to this purchase order to this billing event actually occurring, which systematizes your approach. And then from your back end, whatever interface you have with your supplier vendor will automate from there based on the rules that you set up. But in essence, we'll create that interface between you and your financial system of record and work with you to make sure that all of those workflows are set up efficiently and effectively. And again, this comes back to the concept of us being a modern software where, and without getting too technical, anything that has an API, we can interface with, and it's basically us making that handshake between the technologies to be able to allow that to happen.
So if someone is watching this webinar today and they're running a small or medium-sized construction company, and somebody's always talking to them about percentage completion accounting, and you have to figure this out, and either you wing it or you can, if you're using Sitetracker, are you capable of knowing for a fact where you are in the percentage completion of this site?
100%. So again, harking back to the way we set up our project templates and the reporting that is associated with that. Let's say, for instance, I'm the CEO of one of these construction companies and I want to see how many projects are at this milestone so I can start to forecast our revenue. You can just create very simply by yourself a roll-up report of all of those projects, see at what point they are in completion, and just basically filter to, hey, this is the ones that are at 50, these are the ones at 10.
But in order to know that, you have to know the components of the project.
Correct.
So if there's 12 antennas, for instance, and we put up 6, then I know I'm 50% complete. Correct. On the other hand, if I've got 1,000 feet of cable, and I've got 6 antennas, and I've got boards to put in, and I've got all kinds of other things to do, how would I know how far along I am.
Yeah,
if
sure.
all of those jobs are sort of at a different point in time.
Yeah, for sure. So if you think about it, let's think about we've got 1,000 sites that are in flux at one location at one time. That's being managed by N number of project managers and N number of vendors in the field. All of those people are working in real time in Sitetracker to be able to understand where the project is. So let's say a vendor's out in the field, he completes a checklist on his mobile phone. Check, check, check. This is at this milestone. Bingo. That report is now live and generated, actually saying this is at 50% completion. When you've got all those people at once doing all those activities, reporting on those activities live, you're able to see in real time those completion events occurring, and it's like throwing money in a jar. You're going ding, 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 so it's coming in.
But are my crews out there with a supercomputer on site,
No.
or they have their laptops,
Yeah.
or are they able to do this from their phones
Yep.
so that it's really workable? Can I tell where they are and what they're doing through Sitetracker?
Yeah. So apologies for nerding out a little bit, but speaking of supercomputers, I was watching the Apollo 11 documentary the other day, and our mobile phones, by way of comparison, are supercomputers. Like literally, we put a person on the moon with a 64-bit processor. We've got some pretty serious hardware. So in essence, yes, but they're mobile phones. These supercomputers in our hands are the way that the crews in the field are actually doing everything. The native app that we have for both iOS and Android allow us to give people the power to take a photo. We were speaking a couple of weeks ago about videos, capturing a video of a site, doing a walk around or a walk through. You have all of that power at the fingertips of your phone. So you can very, very easy, very, very seamlessly perform your project management actions on the go. Or if you're part of a crew, just jump through the hoops that you need to jump through to complete your project.
Right. So in essence, if you think about it in the construction business, we're not selling them equipment anymore. We're selling them hours, bodies, for hours. So the ability to control that is the critical factor between success and failure here.
100%.
Is this the key that I need to make sure that I'm able to make money for every hour of time my people are in the field?
Definitely. The world that we're moving into, let's forget about the world that we're in. The world that we're moving into is going to rely on us to deploy so much more than we ever have before, with so much less than we ever had before. And at the same time, all the margins are shrinking. So without the ability to actually operationalize your business, moving past the paradigm that's broken, you won't be able to survive.
So efficiency is the underlying theme here that really drives Sitetracker.
Yeah. Look, I like to define it as operational excellence. That's what everyone wants. That to me, if you put an equation together, operational excellence on one side equals dollar signs on the other. It also equals employee happiness, vendor and supplier happiness. We met with some people at one of the largest tower companies in the country, and you can read up about her story on our website, but she was spending, I think it was up to 8 or 9 hours a week in extra reporting time outside of business hours, just so she could interface with one of the carrier's softwares. She doesn't need to do that anymore. We've got seamless integrations. So, the efficiency we're finding is great, but the employee satisfaction and happiness is equally as important, particularly as you're trying to grow skill sets, particularly as you're trying to reduce the amount of staff turnover and churn in your businesses, because you're losing knowledge each time somebody walks out of the door. So to your earlier comment about Joey leaving, well, we don't really need to worry about that as much because Joey's happier now in his job. Right?
Point well taken.
Yeah.
So sounds like, and I'm saying this rhetorically,
Sure.
to be funny, but at the end of the day, cloud-based software to run my whole business. I've searched for this before. The ticket for this, the number to put it in was hugely expensive.
Yeah, sure.
And it was, thousands of people to come in and program and set up because they were going to, specifically run it to my business, which was part maintenance, and part in construction, and part in building, and, all these other components, and they had to modify it. So it was, the upfront cost and then the monthly cost were enormous. I'm a medium-sized guy, maybe a smallish person. I'm worried about these costs. What is the cost that gets me there, that gets Sitetracker installed?
So there's still a certain element of customization required from a pricing perspective. What we've found over time is that the types of companies that find the most ROI from Sitetracker are companies that are kind of 20 plus in user size.
That's all. That sounds like a smallish company.
Yeah, exactly right. They start to see these efficiencies because we sit down and we work and build out the templates. Our business model is pretty simple. We've got a implementations team that will sit down and work with your business to set up those templates. And don't think that you need somebody to manage those templates ongoing. We've got a template designer that can allow you to be free to be able to modify those. We've got an admin portal which allows you to admin your own version of Sitetracker. But at the same time, we also have a whole customer success organization made up of subject matter experts and engineers that can support you if you don't want to do those types of things. So in essence, you walk in the door and you say, this is what I'm doing right now. We translate that very, very quickly and very efficiently into the templates that you require to be successful. And we get you up and running within probably 3 to 6 months, depending on the complexity and the number of templates that you need, as well as the number of integrations and so on and so forth.
Now, this is not accounting software, correct?
Correct.
But this is going to, if I'm a public company and I'm running this, and I'm relying on the percentage completion that this is telling me, is this going to be FASB approved? Is this going to be SEC approved? Is this something that, as a real public company, that I can use and be comfortable?
For sure, yeah. So we're actually built on a platform called Force.com or Salesforce, which is the largest SaaS business in the world. They are a massive enterprise. And one of the reasons that we chose that platform as the core of our code was because of all these compliances. As I mentioned earlier, we've got permission-based settings and full audit histories that are available to anybody at any point in time so that you can make smart decisions about proactively locking people out so that they don't have information that they don't necessarily need, all the way through to, hey, Joey made this change, and it's not to penalize Joey that you want to see that information. It's so that you can improve your workflows or have say, well, here it is historically, this is what we've done in the past. Here's a full audit history on all the projects that we've done with you. Right. Please check it out.
So you answered the question about Joey. You answered the question about getting this installed. I know I've got you on this one. Closeouts.
Yep.
The bane of my existence back in the day. How does Sitetracker help me with my closeouts?
That's easy.
Easy for you.
Yeah, easy for me. Easy for all of our customers as well. A closeout, from my perspective, is a really simple checklist. It's a bunch of activities that need to be done in order for me to get to that billing milestone to make sure everything's finished. Sitetracker Mobile, which is one of our tools that we spoke about a little bit before, has the facility for checklists. So when I walk in for that closeout walkthrough, I can take a video of everything that I'm seeing in that location. I can take a specific photo, and the technology that we have supporting that allows it to be geo-fenced, again, so that someone's not sitting at the bar making that closeout occur.
Right.
They're actually on location doing it at that time efficiently and effectively again.
And who accepts this? What are there companies out there in the industry that say, okay, if the closeout is coming to me through Sitetracker, yep, I accept that as real-time stamp, real geofence, correct? So in other words,
all the data's there.
Companies.
Yeah, exactly right. All the data's there. Invariably, what happens, and let's talk about the carrier as an example. Carriers will then supply Sitetracker logins for their vendors, or vice versa, and that goes backwards as well. So that they can just log in, see that it's done, bingo, we're off and running.
And so closeout being, the kind of the icing on the cake here, because I'm not getting paid till I do the closeout. Sure. Then I can press the button and do that. But again, I've got a very complicated process from some of these OEMs, especially, where I'm getting a PO that's sent to me, then I have to accept it, then I have to do the work, then I have to go back in. So these are complicated transactions.
Yeah, sure.
So this is taking all of that information, all that data, all that data, and saying, okay, now I can show you, first of all, here's the PO, here's what we did, here's the time frame we did it, and here's the closeout on it. So it's a nicely tied package with a bow on it.
100%. And I think something that we didn't touch on, which is really interesting, is let's go back all the way to the beginning of the cycle. We've actually got a specific module that is designed to allow you to work on drawings, as an example, where you can mark up live in real time and collaborate with other people. And that goes all the way through to the closeout package. I can circle a photo, show that that's not what's completed, like what's question mark, circle that image.
So this has the as-built in this system too. So after I go back, I finish this, the customer
I don't accept that
has a closeout, but has also wants an as-built. Or the town wants an as-built.
Yeah, it could be just, I don't even see the right wiring here. Go back and take another photo of this. Show me that that's done properly. Circle it, send it back. The closeout's accepted or not.
Interesting. So before we go to questions, is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to make sure everyone knows? And startling things for me is that you've got companies of 20 people that can use this software, mid-sized companies, small companies. Is there anything we didn't cover that you want to make the point before we go?
I think that some of the things that I see when I attend all of these different shows is that one of the most resounding things that project managers tell me is that they don't feel as though they're in the driver's seat when it comes to making these decisions. I like to think that people have the ability to make much more change occur than they think. So I really want to start celebrating the successes of project managers and really get them to understand that they can make a difference and an impact. So, for all the project managers out there sitting around saying, I can't make a difference, I call garbage on that. Reach out to us, come check out our software. For all the C-suite out there, the same thing. You can make a huge impact to your business really, really quickly by changing your process, by condensing what's otherwise 90-day billing cycles into 45, by actually realizing that the variety, volume, and velocity of projects are changing. And that if you are not adapting and evolving your business to meet the needs of what's going on out there, you're really going to suffer. And that's not saying Sitetracker is the only solution out there. I really recommend everyone gets out there and makes an informed decision about what solution they choose. But don't let that stop you from getting out there and asking those questions.
It seems like fear is a great potential problem for you. Change. And one of the things that we were back in the day we were looking to do was to put in a package to run that business in the same Sitetracker mentality prior to Sitetracker being around. But at the end of the day, we couldn't get our numbers, the site numbers that we were using to coordinate with what the number of characters this software package that everyone seemed to be using was, so it was, we were fearful.
Yeah.
You know, if we do it now, the administrative team's going to be unhappy, the project managers, because there won't be enough characters, and you could look, you know. So that fear is a really big driver
100%.
Of how people feel about this.
I think that people just need to be ready to accept change. Ultimately, it happens every day. But unless you're prepared to actually stand up and you know, grab the bull by the horns, so to speak,
right.
You're just going to be fearful of that change, and you're going to be working in your spreadsheet, and you're going to drop the ball.
But in a world of slimmer margins, lots of work out there going around, very difficult hiring of crews, and turnover in the business, why wouldn't you want to change and utilize something like this to make yourself more efficient and make more money?
Just mitigate all those risk points to start with. Right? If money is not the driver for you, just start by mitigating all those risks.
Right. Well, you probably won't be around the money mitigating factors.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Well, I think we covered a lot of that. I want to see what questions we have. Peter, do you have questions that we can go through? You know, one more thing that I'd like to get to before we go into the question phase is we talked a little bit about cost here. How is it billed? In other words, is this write me a check for the upfront money and then so much per site or per seat or you know, is there a process that you go through? Is there funding, financing, and all those things that go into making this palatable for the small and medium?
So essentially what we do is we sit down and build an ROI and a business case for each of the people that we work with. So, you know, if you requested a demo from us and came and asked us about the software, we'd work with you to scope out what this would cost for you, and we'd prepare that for you in a fashion that is not only palatable from a pocket perspective, but allows you to justify to higher ups or down belows as to actually why and what efficiencies you'll find and what savings you'll actually realize. And we actually scope it out very, very actively to let people know what's going on.
Yeah, we're going to open the questions up to the audience now, and we have a couple here that I'm going to read and will answer. Does Sitetracker help businesses switch from using their current variety of project management tools just using Sitetracker? Is there a customer success story you can share with us, sort of, in that, you know, we didn't have anything, we had something,
and we
used Sitetracker?
Yeah, for sure. There's a whole bunch of different stories that you can see on our website, but I can dive into one of the largest vendors in the company based out of Chicago. What was interesting about them is that we not only replaced another software, but that software that we replaced didn't allow them to actually understand the KPIs of their business. And basically what that meant was, without their realization of what the KPIs were, they were finding it really difficult to measure their team's success. So it wasn't until we actually deployed Sitetracker over the top of that legacy system that we found KPIs for the business. And now every employee has, and every department has, a business-wide KPI that they need to meet. That to me was an amazing success story, because we saw a transformation in a business. We saw them go from no KPIs, no measures of success, through to this powerhouse that can now optimize their whole business based off the back of realizing those KPIs and seeing them. And as far as going from spreadsheets to Sitetracker, that's pretty straightforward for us, and we see that time and time again. And we work with our customers to be able to translate that into a template in Sitetracker. And we've got a onboarding integration team, an onboarding implementation team, and then an ongoing customer success and engineering team that can work with your teams internally or individuals without any sort of technical expertise to be able to deliver on their needs.
Right, so let's talk about the physicality of it. So you talked about 3 to 6 months to get this installed. Obviously, this is software in the cloud. You're not coming to me telling me I need to go buy 3 new servers.
Correct.
But everybody's laptop in the company and everybody's phone needs to be loaded now with software. So what does that process look like?
So the internal change management is really interesting. Companies, let me take a step back. I'll work from utilization. Companies that use us find that their utilization of Sitetracker is really high by virtue of the interface being so easy to use. So people start and say, oh, wow, this is really easy. And invariably what happens is that as soon as you've got people internally that are going, oh, wow, this is super easy. It's so much easier than my spreadsheet. It starts to proliferate internally in businesses. But the change management of actually moving people over is something that has to come from the top down. There has to be a belief that you want to change your business. And once that top-down message comes into play, most people jump on board, and most people find it's pretty easy to get those heroes of change within the businesses to actually go and action.
But I would assume that if management comes with a lukewarm acceptance of this, or yeah, we bought this and we're going to work it out, but the internal team, will not accept it or will not integrate it as vigorously as the management says, listen, this is what we need to do to keep up with everyone else in the business.
And that's why top-down decisions are so important. But throughout our process, we try to find all the relevant people that are key stakeholders in the process, and we make sure we engage with them so that it's not just a whip down, it's a collaborative process. But the internal change management is super, super important. And if you're not prepared to make those changes, you're not going to find success. And that's your business's bottom line that you're risking.
Right. So talk to us about the founding of the company. Probably should have started this at the very beginning of this, but I think it's an interesting story. How did it get started? Who started it? And how did it develop into what it is today?
So Tim May, who's our CTO and co-founder, was a project manager, software engineer in the pharmaceutical industry, of all things. And he, through connection, built the first version of Sitetracker for Verizon. And it has evolved ever since.
Was
since
Verizon in the pharmaceutical business that I'm not aware of?
No, but it was just it was a very opportunistic, synergistic opportunity. Built the software for them, and it's been evolving ever since. We've grown from a company of one when Tim basically started everything to a company of 130. The bulk of it is engineering. We've got offices in Palo Alto, the heart of Silicon Valley, where most of our engineering team is, to Austin, New Jersey, New York, London, and Luxembourg. And we're growing really, really rapidly.
Interesting. So I think we're just about out of time, but I wanted to tie this up and finish here. Is there anything else that we didn't cover? Again, I asked this a little while ago. Anything else I didn't cover that might move somebody who's sitting and listening or watching right now to say, I need to call these folks and I need to get this in my business because it's so important that I keep up with what's going on.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Risk reward. That's ultimately, as business owners and operators, that's ultimately what you're looking at every day. As a project manager, as someone that's part of a crew, you're looking at risk reward all the time. Do I want to be late to this project all the way through to do I want to bill late and carry the revenue cost for somebody else? If you're not prepared to make that change in your business, and you're not prepared to actually look at the paradigm in which our industries are moving towards, then keep going with what you're doing. Just plain and simple, Sitetracker might not be the best fit for you. But if you're looking to make an impact, you're looking to grow your business, and you're looking to make your business the efficiency powerhouse that it could be, then come check us out.
Great. So one of the things that's near and dear to my heart here is that this might be as workable for in-building wireless as it is for all the external work that we're doing, small cells and modifications and building towers and all those things. And we launched our newest edition of Connected Real Estate Magazine today. And this is kind of what I think a lot of the people in our industry are looking for is how can I run these things efficiently and make sure all of those things. Does it work for in-building as well as external?
100%, 100%. In fact, we've got dozens of in-building customers that are deploying DAS, Wi-Fi, fiber all the time. I think that we'd be remiss if we thought about telecom as these separate sections, but they are. And we solve for all of these use cases and all of these problems.
Fiber? Does this work for fiber too?
Yeah, fiber. If you're any business in critical infrastructure, we've got a solution for you. We've got utility customers, we've got in-building customers, we've got fiber customers, service providers, carriers. We even have, believe it or not, Party City is one of our customers.
Really?
If for Halloween need to pop up many stores, that's a repeatable process. They do that through Sitetracker, which is awesome.
Are there other verticals that you're going after post telecom?
Yeah, utilities industry, EV chargers, which is a massive opportunity.
That.
Yeah, EV chargers. You think about it, all of these EV chargers are requiring connectivity. They're requiring power. They're requiring just the installation of the physical assets there. All of the kiosks in New York, the Link NYC kiosks, were deployed via Sitetracker.
Really?
So we're talking every single phone booth in New York was replaced with a Link NYC kiosk. 17 different vendors required at any one point in time, from permitting to the city. All of those multiple millions of risk points. So yeah, it's Sitetracker is designed for high volume projects.
Gotcha. Brett, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Pleasure.
That was really interesting. And again,
Thank
as
you.
a guy who was there, I wish I'd had it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.